Start the Mamor Mulukotim. This is the 38th Maimer. This Maimer, the Rebbe said in Shabbos Parshas Chayesora, Mevorchim HaKodesh Kislev, in Tovshin Lamed. The Maimer started by Chayesora, and it says over here that they later on published it in Chof Mar Cheshvan Tovshin Nun Beis, and a Kuntras Chof Mar Cheshvan Tovshin Nun Beis, which came out for then for Chof Mar Cheshvan. The Maimer over here, it doesn't say in the heading of Chof Mar Cheshvan, but the whole Maimer you'll see that the Rebbe refers to the Rebbe Rashab, the Baal HaYilul, the Baal HaYemaledes, which birthday is on Chav Cheshvan. So that's the connection over here. All right, so let's learn inside. P'sayte d'shmaya, and this is Shabbos Parshas Chayesora, Mevorchim HaChodesh Kislev, Tovshin Lamed. Viheyu Chayesora, this is the opening of the Parsha, Viheyu Chayesora, Meyo Shona, ועשרים שנה ושבע שנים, שני Chayesora. The Torah enumerates Sora's life. So it says she lived for 127 years. And then the Pasuk repeats again, these are the lives of Sora. This is Sora's life. So what is the two times the duplicate language? She lived for 127 years. And then you add, this is the life of Sora. The Rebbe will bring down from the Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab, in which he explains that the first Chayesora is the Hamshoche, the 127 years, the way it comes down in Atzilus, and Shnei Chayesora, the way it goes down in Biaz, the Rebbe will explain. But before he explains that, he brings down another pasuk and the Rebbe is going to want to know the connection of this hemshech in the Maimer. Let's look inside. We'll see how the Rebbe asks the first question in the first ois. Umedayik admur mar Rashab nishmos Eiden, the Rebbe Rashab nishmos Eiden. He asked the question, the Baal Yom HaHiledes, the Chof Mar Cheshvan, the ones whose birthday is on Chof Mar Cheshvan, b'mamore dibra maschil zeh, in the Maimer, which begins with the words Vayi Chayesora, hare kvar nemar Vayihu Chayesora. Since it already says Vayihu Chayesora, v'lomo nichpal oid pam sheni Chayesora. Why does it say again Chayesora? It says Vayihu Chayesora 127 years. Why does it say again Shnei Chayesora? The Chayesora, it already says that. So V'lomo is number one. So Mamshir B'Hamaimer. So the Maimer continues that Shebezoyar al Haposik Vayihu Chayesora, that in the Zoyar on the verse Vayihu Chayesora, before the Zoyar explains the Pasuk, he first explains another Pasuk. He explains the Pasuk, the Yisroin Eretz Bakoli, and Melech L'Sod Nebad. This is a Pasuk in Koheles. Pasuk in Koheles. So the Yisroin Eretz, meaning the advantage of the land, and as in the context, as the Zohar will explain, Eretz refers to Malchus. So what's the advantage of Malchus? Bakoilhi is in everything. Basically, that the level of Bakoil, that's the level of Yisoid, that Yisoid comes into Eretz, into Malchus. That gives Eretz an advantage. And further, the level of Melech L'soda, soda is another name for Malchus. Malchus is called Eretz and also Soda. The Melech l'soda, to the level of Soda, to the level of Malchus, Nevad is served, comes down into the level of Soda. Basically, the Maimer is going to continue talking about it, that Eretz and Soda have an advantage because they get Bakoil and they get Melech. So that's what the Zohar first starts off with the pasuk. He brings down the pasuk of Kehelis. After the Zohar brings down the pasuk of Kehelis, Oimer, the Zohar says, the inyan Viheyu chayisorehu. What is the idea of chayisoreh? Shesora zochso l'chayin iloin. Chayi Sora means she got the life. It was the life of Sora that she merited. She was the zchus to be alive. The supreme light, the life of above. Chayi Sora she lived. So that's in the Zohar. So the Maimer that brings this down, so the Maimer that brings this down, Hashaych is the V'yisrein Eretz Bakoilhi Melech Lasod Nedvad Lavayu Chayisor. So what's the connection of this pasuk V'yisrein Eretz Bakoilhi and Melech Lasod Nedvad to Vayu Chayisor, that the Zohar brings this down? Because Sora too is Malchus, and she gets the Chayin. Just like we talk about the Soda and the Oretz, this is also the level of Malchus, level of Soda. So he says, what is the Shaychas v'Yisrael b'Koil of the Vayu Chayisora? The Eretz v'Soda hein b'chinas Malchus. Eretz and Soda are Malchus. The Inyan Yisrael Eretz b'Koilhi. What does it mean? Yisrael and Eretz is with Bakoil and Melech Lasoda Nevad, who hamshochas ha'oiros shalamayla memalchus. That means bringing down the lights in Atzilus, which is higher than Malchus, in Malchus Atzilus. The pasuk is interpreted that Yisrael and Eretz Bakoil and Melech Lasoda Nevad, that it talks about bringing down the lights that are higher than Malchus. In what are the lights of higher than Malchus? Bechinas Koilu, Bechinas Melech. The level of Koil and the level of Melech. Bim Malchus in Malchus. So that's the meaning of the pasuk. So what's the connection to Chayisora? Bezuhi Hashaychus, and this is the connection to the Yisrael Eretz Bakoilhi Melech Lasoda Nevad Levayu Chayisora. It's connection Chayisora. Ki Sora hi b'chinas Malchus. Sora is the level of Malchus, which is Dugmas Eretz v'Soda, similar to the Eretz v'Soda mentioned in the pasuk Yisrael Eretz Melech Lasoda. She's also Malchus. V'zeh shesora zochso l'chayin iloyin. The fact that Sora merited the supreme light, we said Chaye Sora, right? Hu shenim shechubo ha'oire shalamaylo memalchus. That in Sora extended was drawn down the lights that are higher than Malchus. That's the Chaye Sora, and that's the connection to the Eretz Bakoil and Soda Nevad, which Malchus gets from the higher levels. Umevayer Barucha. And then the Maimer explains at length, Dalid ho'inyonim shebeposik v'Yisrael Eretz Goimer, the four aspects, the four ideas in the posik v'Yisrael Eretz. There are two names for Malchus. One is called Eretz and one is called Soda. They're both talking about Malchus. And there's two names about what is nimshach in them, Bakoil and Melech, the Bakoil Bas and the Melech. So he says over there, he explains the four inyonim shebeposik v'yisur eretz v'gomer. Shtei habechinas shebemalchus, the two levels of malchus, which is eretz v'soda. Ushtei habechinas ba'oides shelemaylo ma'malchus hanimshochim b'malchus, and the two levels in the oides that are above malchus that come to malchus, which is bechinas koil or bechinas melech, the level of koil and level of melech. We have the two levels of malchus, which is eretz and soda, and we have the two levels that are nimshach to malchus, the level of koil and level of melech. And he explains that Sora, we said, is malchus, and she gets the chaye Sora. What is that life that is nimshach to her? Also the two madregas. The ''Vasrim shana ושבע שנים, 27 years, hu al derech b'chinas koil. That is similar to the level of koil, which is the level of Yisoid, we'll see soon, that is nimshach in by Sora. Umeyo shana, and meyo al derech b'chinas melech, that is the level of melech. That's what he explains over there in the minor. Ula achriza, and then after that, Mevayer B'siyum HaMaimer. He explains at the end of the Maimer, the Vayiu Chayi Sora Hu Amshochas HaChayi Niloin. So the first part of the Posik, Vayiu Chayi Sora, that is Hamshocha of the Chayi Niloin, the upper level of the vitality, the meya shana v'esrim shana v'sheva shanim b'malchus. That's coming down in malchus. The both levels of the koil and melech into Sora. Ushnei chayi Sora, then when it says snei chayi Sora hu, shachayi niloi nimshachu b'biyah, that the level that is nimshach in malchus gets later on extended into biyah. So basically, the way he teaches the posik, Vayiyu chayi Sora meir shana ושבע שנים, is the hamshachas of Lamailo, the level of koil melech in Sora in Malchus. Shnei chayi Sora is mamshich Malchus into Biyah. So basically, the question was, why is it duplicating Shnei chayi Sora? The answer is that Chayi Sora is talking about Amshocha into Malchus, and Shnei Chayi Sora is Mamshich from Malchus to Biyah. So in order to explain this, we don't need the whole explanation of Melech Basode Bakoili. What? How does that connect to this whole Inyan, to just explain what the Rebbe is, that we need to explain the question of the Pasuk? How does it relate to the Pasuk in Koheles that the Zohar explains? That seems like that the Rebbe brings that down to explain why it says Shnei Chayi Sora. This is the Rebbe's question. Frag the Rebbe, Tzorich Lo, we need to understand. The Bichdei Levayer HaHisofa. In order for the Rebbe Rashab to explain the addition of the Shnei Chayi Sora, why does it say again Shnei Chayi Sora, Al Vayiyu Chayi Sora on top of Vayiyu Chayi Sora? Nagea L'chayre, it seems that it's important, seemingly, Rak Vayiyu Chayi Sora, Hu Amshochas Chayin Eloim B'Malchus. Only the idea that Vayiyu Chayi Sora is bringing down the supreme light or the life of above in Malchus. That is Vayiyu Chayi Sora. And once we say Vayiyu Chayi Sora is bringing it down in Malchus, we can explain that Shnei Chayi Sora means to bring it down from Malchus to Biyah. So based on this, we can explain Shaha'isofa, the Shnei Chayi Sora, that what does it add by saying the years of Chayi Sora? Ha'amshocha b'Biyah, to bring down a Biyah. But umizeh shebiur zeh bo b'hamaimer. The fact that this explanation, that to bring it down Shnei Chayi Sora to Biyah, comes in the Maimer, la'acharei biur haposik v'yisrim eretz v'goymer v'shaychusu l'vayiyu Chayi Sora. after explaining the Yisrael and connection with Eichai Sorah, Mashma. So from this it appears, Sayideze metoisev biur ba'inyan deshnei Chayei Sorah hamshocha b'bial. That this adds explanation in this idea that we say Shnei Chayei Sorah, that it brings on a biyah, it adds explanation once we explain how it works in the posik Yisrael Eretz Bakoili Melech Lasod Nevad. That explanation. Okay. Ois base. We'll understand it by explaining, by what is explained in the Maimer, the difference between Eretz and Sodeh. The Pasuk says, we call Malchus both in Yonim. We say that Yisra and Eretz, Bakoili, a Melech l'Sodeh Nevat. So what's the difference between Eretz and Sodeh? The Eretz who Klolus Ha'olam. Eretz is the world in general. V'Sodeh, a field, Hamufchar Sheberetz, which is the choicest of the land, Hu HaGan Eden, that's Gan Eden. We have the world in general, and then we have Gan Eden. This difference between the world in general and Gan Eden, Shekololus Ha'olam Nikra Eretz, the Gan Eden Sodeh, that the world in general is called Eretz, land, and Gan Eden is called the field. Who b'sharshim is in the root from where we come from the level of Malchus. Malchus, the creation and the light of Hashem comes through Malchus. And within Malchus, there is the Pnimius Malchus and Chitzonius Malchus. The world in general, Eretz, comes from Chitzonius Malchus. Gan Eden comes from Pnimius Malchus. B'chiluk zeh sheben klolus ha'olam. Nikra Eretz b'shorsham. This havus ha'olam hi b'chinas Chitzonius Malchus and Nikra Eretz. The creation of the world comes from the externality of Malchus, which is called Eretz. V'hagan Eden, but the Gan Eden hu b'chinas Pnimius HaMalchus, shenikra Sodeh, which is called the field. So basically, the reason why Gan Eden is the choicest is it comes from Pnimius HaMalchus. The Eretz general comes from Chitzonius HaMalchus. So it continues in the Maimer, the Kemoi Shemaylas HaSodeh Kipshuta, He Shu Mokim Haroyu Lizriya. What is the advantage of the field, literally, over regular world, is that it's a Mokim Haroyu Lizriya. It's a place that is fit to sow. You can grow things there. Similarly, is with regards as it is with regards to Gan Eden. Shehu Mokim Muchshar. The Gan Eden is a place that is appropriate fit. Lahamshochas Hagilu de Ein Sof. It's a place in which we can bring down the revelation of the Ein Sof, which is Simicha Shal Yidei Zriyas HaMitzvah, the growth through the sowing of mitzvahs. Gan Eden is a place where mitzvahs grow, just like a field. They grow literally. That's Gan Eden is called the field that it grows. The Rebbe brings in the brackets here. This explained elsewhere, ala posik on the verse. Vayikach Hashem elikim es ha'odom vayanicheyu began Eden la'ovdo l'shamra. It says Hashem created man, and Hashem took man, took Odom, and he placed him Gan Eden, la'ovdo l'shamra, to work it and to protect it. His responsibility of the Odom was to work the Gan Eden, to work the garden, and to protect it. What does it mean to work? Work means mitzvahs asay. Protect it means not to do the loisaseh, that is to protect. to protect the Gan Eden. V'omer Razal, and our sages tell us, a blessed memory, la'ovdo zeramach mitzvahs aseh u'l'shomro zeh shasa lo yisasa, mitzvahs lo yisasa. To work it means the 248 mitzvahs. That's the Gan Eden that we're working to do, the 248 positive mitzvahs. To protect it is the 365 prohibitions that we're not to do. The haltam halze sheniche began Eden davke. So it's explained. So why did Hashem put him in Gan Eden specifically, loved the l'shamra, to work it and to protect it? Why did Hashem not put Adam in another place? That is because Gan Eden is the proper place where things grow. So, hu ki Gan Eden hu mokoi muchshar lahagilu shenimshach al yedei kiyum hamitzvos. Because Gan Eden is the fitting place to the revelation that comes through the mitzvahs. That's why that's the Gan Eden. V'zeh shenimshach al gilui al yedei kiyum hamitzvahs b'chlolus ha'olam. And this that we so how in other words, how does mitzvahs work now? If you have to be in Gan Eden in order to do the mitzvahs, because Gan Eden is the field, that's where mitzvahs grow. How is it? He was chased out of Gan Eden. So how do we have the kiyum mitzvahs? Is like the pasuk says, "Vayishalcheyu Hashem elikim megan Eden, lavedes hadomo gomer." Eibshetaka sent him away from Gan Eden for him to work the land, which means, what does it mean to work the land? The inyan lavedes hadomo. What does it mean to work the land? Ulasis es hamokim the oilom, to make the place of worship that it should be fit for the revelation. The place of revelation, the fitting place for the revelation is in Gan Eden. That's the sodet, that's the field. After this sin, they used to chase them out of Gan Eden, and then he has to go and make the rest of the world la'ovda, lavid is adoma, to make the world a fitting place for the giluyim of Hashem. V'zehu, and this is v'yisrael eretz ba'kolhi melech lasod nevad. So what is the two inyanim? Sha Yisrael the Eretz. Yisrael Eretz would refer to klolus ha'olam. She sabusei michitzenis malchus. So the Yisrael Eretz is talking about world in general. That's created from the externality of malchus. Hi bakoil. That is that it has in it the level of bakoil, which means bakoil shenimshach bo b'chinas koil. In it extends the level of koil. Koil is sfiras hayisoid. That's the sphere of yisoid, the sphere right before malchus. That's the chod yisoid malchus shenikra as koil. In the posik, koil b'shamayim u'va'oras, ki koil is called the sfiras hayisoid. Dulav ha'gvura tzveret netzav ha'shamayim. Ki koil is sfiras hayisoid. So that's in Eretz. Yisrael Eretz, the land in general, is Bakoil. But then, Melech Lasod Nevad, Hu Hamshochas Hagilu Dein Sof. The Melech that comes Lasod Nevad, that's a revelation of Ein Sof, Shalamaylo Mibchinas Koil, which is higher than the level of Koil. That's through the Avodah Shal Yidei Kiyum HaMitzvos. When you do the mitzvahs, you bring down the level, not Yisoid, but Melech, which is higher. As the Zohar says there. Man Melech, who is the Melech? We say Melech Lasod Nevad. Who is this Melech? The Melech is Lo'o. That is the Supreme King. The Ischaber L'Sode Kadiu Nevad. Melech L'Sode, the king comes to the Sode, comes to Gan Eden, comes to with the gilui of the mitzvahs is lesoda nevad, when we work the field. Kadihu nevad, that's what the Zohar says. When you work the field, you make the mitzvahs. That's le'ovdo, to make the mitzvahs, to make the world into a Gan Eden, to make it a Gilui Ein Sof, you bring down the level of Malchus. Shal Yidei ha'avoda beGan Eden, through the work in Gan Eden, which is Soda Nevad. That's the field. That's not just Mokoin. That's the level of Soda. That's not just Eretz. That's Soda. In the Soda, when you do the mitzvahs, she'avoda the kiyum ha-mitzvahs, which is the avoda kiyum mitzvahs, or we're making the whole world into love, not just Gan Eden now, but that's the idea of Gan Eden. The avoda is in Gan Eden, to do the kiyum mitzvahs. La'avdo ramach mitzvahs hasei l'shomra shasa mitzvahs lo'isaseh. Nimshach gilui oirin sof. This brings down the revelation of the oirin sof, the Melech Ilah, the Supreme Melech, Shalamayla Mahagilui de B'chinas Koil, which is above and higher than the level of Koil. So basically, the Rebbe explains here in this Ois the two levels. Before we just said it's Malchus, but he explains specifically Eretz V'Soda over here refer to the general world and Gan Eden, and the roots of the general world is Chitzonius HaMalchus, the root of Gan Eden is Pnimius HaMalchus. And when we say that Yisrael Eretz Bakoilhi, that is talking about the world in general, that what is the advantage, what is the Hamshocha that comes down in the Eretz, in the world in general, that's from the level of Sfiras HaYisoid, which is Bakoil. But Melech, which is a much higher level than the level of Yisoid, that is Lasoda Nevad. When you work the field, when you work the Gan Eden, as we said, V'yanecheyu beGan Eden la'ovdo l'shomra, that the purpose of being Gan Eden is to work the Gan Eden with the mitzvahs of the Ramach mitzvahs hasei, and to keep the 365 mitzvahs lo'isaseh. So when we accomplish that, then we bring down the level of Melech Ilah, Manil Malchazar, a higher level. And that's come down through the Avodah from Melech Lasoda Nevad. But also, even though we don't have Gan Eden, the man was kicked out of Gan Eden, but that's the Avodah. Now to turn all of the Eretz into a Gan Eden, but it still gets the koyach of the above. The Rebbe is going to further explain basically the three levels of Malchus, on its own, and how he gets koil, and he gets the Melech Ilah, but we'll leave that for the next time.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
See you next time.
Yeah, we'll leave it, yeah.